So this video is titled Why Life is Better as an Expat. So an expat, in case you don't know, is someone who lives outside of their native country. And as we live in an ever increasingly smaller world, becoming more and more connected, this is becoming more and more common. Hi, my name's Ben. I've been living abroad in a foreign country for the past 5 years. So I guess that makes me an expat. In this video, I wanted to talk about some of the reasons why I believe life as an expat is better. So let's kick things off with the first reason why I believe life as an expat is better, and that reason is that you can broaden your horizons and challenge long-held beliefs. Experiencing a new culture, especially if it's one that you weren't raised in, submerging into a new country and a new life in a different culture offers an insight into different ways of being and different ways of doing things. You can learn a lot from observing different cultures, different lifestyles, different ways of doing things, and it may even force you to reconsider some of those long-held, unconscious sort of norms and things that you thought you knew. Early on in my life out here, I was walking down the street, something was obstructing the sidewalk, and I stepped out into the street without looking. Fortunately, a motorcycle swerved to avoid me, then stopped just in front of me. I was expecting an angry confrontation and feared physical consequences in the form of road rage. However, it turned out to be a guard from the school I worked at offering me a lift. He didn't seem to care at all that I had just stepped out into the road without looking. Road rage barely exists in the country I currently live in, and is something I now found stressful and largely unnecessary when I'm visiting my home country. So this is just one small example of something that doesn't really exist here, that does exist in my home country, that I used to think was very normal. I used to think it was normal that people would, beep their horns and scream at people who cut them off or did something they believed was incorrect on the road. I understand the anger, I understand the pressure of driving at high speeds and all that kind of stuff, and I do get it, but also I don't get it anymore. Last time I was home, I was in a car with someone who got pretty angry and started shouting and effing and jeffing and all that kind of stuff, and I was actually kind of taken aback and a little bit startled and a little bit shocked by it. Something that obviously was very common, I was very used to previously, after spending a long period of time abroad in a country where that doesn't really happen so much. I never see road rage out here. Things and behaviors on the road that would potentially get two cars to pull over and have a fight, doesn't do that out here. People are much calmer behind the wheel. They maybe drive more aggressively, but they're not screaming, shouting, beeping their horns virtually at all. It's very interesting. So like I said, this is sort of like a micro example, but there are so many different things. There are so many things that will make you reconsider certain things. There are so many, experiencing different religions and the effects they have on different, sort of places and different peoples, different foods, different ways of cooking, different ways of, interacting with strangers, different ways families sort of interact, and all that kind of stuff will definitely challenge you. It'll definitely, broaden your horizons. It'll definitely challenge those long-held beliefs that you probably picked up unconsciously, that, maybe some of those will shift and change. And that is one of the reasons why life is better as an expat. So the next reason why I think life as an expat is better is that a lower cost of living can mean a better standard of everyday life. Living in a country with a lower cost of living has a variety of positives. But to be honest, for me, it's less about being able to afford more. In fact, that's not strictly true for me because I have a job in this country, so I earn a wage relative to the cost of living. However, it still seems that the cost of living is much lower and things are much more affordable for me in this country than my home country. One of the great benefits, like I said, of having a lower cost of living on certain things, not everything, but on certain things, isn't just that you're making more money, saving more money, although that could potentially be true, especially if you maybe work online or you have a good job in a foreign country. It's more to do with being able to live a lifestyle that I want to live. Cheaper restaurant prices mean I can eat out as often as I like. Low transportation and accommodation costs mean that I can travel as often as I have time off from work. A lower rent means I am not financially stressed by the cost of housing myself. The list goes on and on. Ultimately, a lower cost of living means I can live a more enjoyable lifestyle without the financial stress that would come with it elsewhere. Back in the UK, I did make a lot of money, more money, to be honest, and I worked less hours. I was doing a less sort of skilled job. I was just working as a bartender, waiting tables. Obviously, I'm not trying to dismiss that, but now I'm like a full-time teacher. I do find my work longer, harder, and more stressful. But I was making more money in the UK, but my costs were so much more. Out here, I'm making less money, but my costs are also seen to be much less. A good example is housing. You know, I've spoke about this before on this channel, but my first house in the UK was like a shared house between 4 people. We had 1 bedroom each. There was 1 bathroom, 1 living room, 1 kitchen. It was in a bit of a dodgy area of Manchester. I didn't really feel that safe there. And it cost £500 per month each. And like I said, I was making more money, but that was a massive amount. Now I'm making less money living in a foreign country, but my housing here for my own sort of bungalow with 2 rooms, bathroom, garage, back garden, where I'm sat now, is roughly £100. So it's 5 times less for housing. So, and I'm not earning 5 times less in terms of salary. Also, eating out at restaurants, you know, I can afford to eat out at a restaurant every day if I want to. And I don't necessarily, but I do really like that is an opportunity for me if I wanted to do so. Eating out at a restaurant is kind of like a rare special occasion back home, or it was for me on kind of a lower salary. Now it's not. I can live a lifestyle that I much prefer, and I'm not financially or like completely wrecked and stressed out doing so, which is another reason why life as an expat is better. Another reason why life is better as an expat is it gives you an opportunity to explore places more deeply than you could as a tourist. Traveling and living abroad are very different experiences. When you live somewhere, you often find yourself in more authentic parts of town than holiday makers, even if only because you are renting a condo or house rather than staying in a hotel, meaning you will be in less tourist focused areas. Also, being outside of those tourist areas and in more sort of local and regular everyday kind of towns and villages will also give you an opportunity to make more local friends. Often, you know, when I was traveling before, I found that you sort of group together and the friends you make are all other tourists. Obviously, you're all staying in hotels, going to the same sort of places. So it is likely that you'll get a more authentic window and view into the reality of the place that you're visiting. Even if none of that's true, even if you decide to stay in a very touristy sort of centered place, even if you know, befriend a bunch of other expats, nothing wrong with that, obviously. But even, you know, in that kind of situation, in those sort of scenario, you're still going to be spending an extended period of time. Spending a longer period of time, even in those kind of places, simply means that you will sort of submerge yourself deeper than you would if you were here for a short time. So you will begin to experience and see things that you would have otherwise missed. And you may start to develop an understanding and you know, really learn something from that sort of longer time period. So you can actually begin to develop and learn sort of a really detailed kind of map of a certain place and you know, develop understanding, you know, learn new cultures, learn new languages, see different ways of being. All those things I would kind of group together and add up to a better life for being an expat. The final reason why I would argue that life as an expat is better is that you would almost definitely experience personal growth. Moving to and living in a foreign country is an extremely challenging thing to do, but it is worth it. Overcoming these challenges will make you a stronger person, and you will likely experience plenty of personal development and growth living as an expat in a foreign country. From experiencing a different way of life to viewing cultural and religious festivals that you hadn't been exposed to before, overcoming very challenging day-to-day things and routine things in your home country now are a big challenge. Overcoming those challenges, seeing everything you will see, being exposed to all you will be exposed to, will definitely change you somewhat. It's highly likely that spending time as an expat living outside of your native country will encourage a ton of personal growth if you're open to it and if that's something that you're focused on and want to do. So life as an expat is much better for some reasons. If you want to know what I miss about home, if you want to know what I miss about the UK specifically, then I did make a video about that previously. I'll put it right here. That video is called 10 Things I Miss About the UK. So yeah, check out that video right here.